Hey folks, Carl here and welcome to episode 1 of Iteleri's German motorcycle and sidecar. Okay folks, so we are all settled in the new house, so it's time to get back to the bench and recording some videos. So all the footage I recorded of this build before the move has disappeared. Thankfully we hadn't got too much done. All as we'd started was the engine block. We got as far as putting it together and putting some sprue goo on the seams of this, and they were quite bad, so it needed doing. So now we are going to sand them back and get them back to being smooth with the shape of the body, and for this we're going to be using the UMP sanders. These, I've got a little starter pack here from UMP. I got this at Telford. I actually got 2 of them, and one is for sending to a friend, he knows who he is, which is in his box already. So excuse me for knocking the camera. So we are going to open this bag up and have a look to see what we've got. So we have a variety of grades in here, from this one, which is the roughest, which I believe is a 180 and 220, so 120 this side, 180 this side. We then have a 220. This is my most preferred stick. This is the one I go to the most. And then we're into, this is probably the, this will be the 400, 800 grit. So we're starting to get quite fine. Then we're into the 240 and 1200 grits. So it feels like this side is the 240, and this side's probably the 1200. And then we've got the buffing stick, which is, you'd like to say rough, but it's not actually very rough, it's quite smooth. And then we've got the actual buffer on this side. Very good set of sanders. We are going to sand this down. We're going to go through the ranges. We're going to start off with the most coarse and work our way through until we buff it, until we get it back to where we need it, and we've got rid of all this raised sprue goo. So we'll get these ones out of the way. Put those over there. And we're going to start with the most coarse, which is the 120, and we're going to start on this part here. It's quite a raised part. It's got a slight curve to it. As always with the sander, you don't need to press on, you don't need to force the sander into the piece. You will literally just let the sander do all the work. These sanders will last an age if you treat them like sanders and not try and force anything. So yeah, we are just literally rubbing it over the top of where we placed the sprue goo, sanding it back until we get back to the point of where the plastic should be, which is around about there, and we don't want to go any further than that. We don't want to start losing any of the detail. So I don't know if you can make that out. It's quite rough at the moment. So we sand it down with that coarse grit. And for these, if the grit starts to fill up a bit, just very quickly give my wipe on your trousers, and it does actually clean them out. I've just pulled some thread off my trousers there. So we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same again on this side. Again, we're not forcing anything, we're letting the sander do the work. And as we work our way through the grits, it'll get smoother and smoother. And we should end up with a perfectly smooth piece. Quite a thick part there, so I'm just going to shave that off with the blade, otherwise we'll be there all day with the sander. So keep working away at it, one grade at a time, as they say. Yeah, happy with that. So we are going to go up a grade. I'm going to go to my most used grade of sander. Oh, excuse me, which is the 220. And again, no need to press. We're just going over the top of this, sanding it back. And we are almost there with this part. Obviously we've got all around here to do, and here. So we have a look at that now, starting to smooth out, looking a lot better. So we are going to go to the next sponge, which is, I'm not sure what grade that is, but I think straight after this one we will be able to go straight to the buffer. Okay, we're starting to look really smooth now across this here. There was a gaping big hole there, but now it's as good as gone. So finally, I'm not going to bother with this grade. I'm going to go with the blue side of the buffer. And again, don't press. All you need to do is make sure it's in contact and just move it forward and backwards. Nice and easy. And then once this is done, we can give it the final buff with the white side, and we should hear the plastic start to squeak. So onto the white side, and we may hear the plastic start to squeak as it gets. There we go. The plastic's now starting to squeak. It'll go very, very shiny. I'd like to have shown you how big the gap was, but yeah, we lost that footage. So I'll come back now and we'll show you that now, and that is really shiny, and the seam line is as good as gone. There's a few dimples there a little bit further in here and here, but that is good enough. So I am now going to go off and I'm going to get the rest of this sanded down and cleaned up, get the rest of the engine block built, and we'll be back to take a look once it's finished. So talk to you shortly. Okay folks, the engine block, the main part of the engine block is now excuse me, all together and glued, cleaned up as best we can. There's still a few bits and pieces that we could try and clean up a little bit more on top of here, a few of the more awkward places to get to underneath here and whatnot, but for what we're doing, this is obviously going to get coated in paint as well, so that is as good as done. We are now just working on these parts. We've just glued those together, and these go into the side. One goes that side and one goes in that side. That one's a bit more of a tight fit, so we'll have to do some clean up there I think to get that in. So they go like that, but we've just glued these together, and these are now going to need cleaning up as well because there's quite a lot of marks. Now I haven't got a sanding stick that will fit in there, so we've got metal sanders out and we've been through, and the best one to get into each of these little grooves is the triangle shaped one, and we are literally just going to be very, very lightly in that groove. We're just going to clean it up I'm going to go around every single one just to clean that up and take off that little bit of flash. It's not perfect, but it will do. So I'm going to go around, get all of these cleaned up and tidied up, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay folks, that is these together. We've cleaned them up as best we could. We've sanded them down and we've cleaned out as much of the swarf as possible. So the last thing I'm going to do, just to smooth it all out, is use some of the Tamiya Extra Thin, and we're just going to go over and clean out where the seams are, and excuse me, all the bits that are still there. This stuff will melt it and smooth it out. So there we go. So we've got a little bit of sanding to do on there. So if I bring that up now, it's not perfect by any means. It's a lot better than it was if we compare it to this side. You can still see that it's quite rough in there, so we'll do the same. Yep, just go over it with the Extra Thin, and it'll melt out any jagged parts that are still left in there. And we'll leave that to dry, and we shall sand down these parts here and here because they are still quite rough, so we'll put that there. This one I've already done, and I've sanded down that side but not this side, so we'll give a very quick sand down there on the rougher side, and then a smoother side. And that is those ready to hook up onto here. Now, looking at the instructions, it tells you to build the frame around this part of the engine before adding these, but looking at the instructions, I don't think you need to, so I'm going to get these glued into place. So that is the engine complete, and we can then get some paint onto there, because there's nothing else to add to that apart from the wiring. Oh, we've got a part to add into there and another part to add, if I'm reading this right, into there, and then this will sit, oh no, it goes onto there, so this sits inside the frame like so. So I'm not going to show priming this up and painting it, so we'll just get this primed up, painted, and the next part we'll see is actually building the frame to go around this once it's done. So I shall talk to you shortly. Okay folks, that is the main engine complete. There are still two smaller parts to go on. One is this piece and the other is this piece. Now this piece we can mount, that goes on the front here, and this piece I'm not so sure yet. We're about to start the frame. I've just taken it off the sprue, so I'm going to zoom you out a little bit. So we have the main frame of the motorcycle here. Now I was hoping that we'd be able to squeeze the engine in once this main frame was built. However, if we glue this together like so, and we've got this piece here that sits in the middle there like that, there is no way, as I can see, for us to get this engine in there. I'm going to have a bit more of a play around, see what we can do, and see if we can actually do it. If not, we're going to have to paint the engine and try and mask it off as best we can so we can continue work on the main frame before we get that painted. So that's where we're up to at the minute. I am going to go and have a little play to see if we can get this fitted into this when this is glued up, and we will be back shortly. Okay folks, so we've been playing around a little bit and we have actually managed to get that engine in there without it being glued. Held it together as best as could. These are actually pushed and snap fitted, so yeah, it will fit, and we are starting to look a bit like a motorbike. So I am going to go and get the engine painted. I'm going to finish prepping this first because there's seam lines all over the framework, so I'm going to go clean that up. I'm just going to be sanding it down with my go-to sander, and then we'll get the engine painted. Now the plan is to gloss black, prime the whole engine, and then we will put silver onto these external parts here. Don't know which paint we're going to use yet, so there we go. We have managed to get that into the frame without it being glued. This will still all with it being glued, sorry. So there we go, it does fit. Talk to you shortly. Okay folks, so we have got the frame built. None of this center section is glued in. This main part of the frame here is glued together. It needs to be sanded down yet, and this back, I think it's like a storage area for carrying things around on, that is also glued in. So what I can do is I can take these center parts out, which will help with getting the engine in once it is painted. The engine's there, all finished as you've already seen. Okay folks, so work is continuing. We've just got the tank together. Now there was a horrible seam that went all the way from the back right down the center there. There's obviously no seam at the bottom because there's a gap, and what we've done is we've gone and we've put some sprue goo over the seam, and this is going to need about 24 hours to dry correctly. The reason I know that is because I left it a few hours and we've tried to sand this piece off down the bottom there, and unfortunately it's not finished setting in the middle, so it's actually dragged it about a bit, so that part there will need to be redone. So the tank is done. We've been moving on with the frame. This is all now glued and stuck into place. We've gone and we've got the seating and the spring, and that's just in there with a bit of CA glue at the top and the bottom of the spring, and to get it to set instantly we used a little bit of kicker on there. We've got the back section on there. We're just about to start building the seat that goes on the back of there, and that is these two parts here and this part, and again this part will also be springed, which comes in the kit, so we're about to build that. And of course the engine, which I put somewhere safe, there it is. The engine is complete as you've seen it. There is still all the cable and all the rest of that to put on there, but we're not going to do that until after we've painted it. We do have to add all the connections for the hose pipes before, I'll just put that down for a minute. We do have to add all the connections where the hose pipes actually connect to, so I'm not going to show that on camera or anything like that. We'll just get those all put in before we get to paint. So I am going to finish off. All we've got left to do on here is get this back seat on and get the rear mudguard in there, and then that part of the build is complete. So I'm going to call this video here. When we come back, hopefully we should have these parts painted and I'll show you what we've done. So yeah, I'm going to call this video here. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Be good, more importantly be safe, and as always, keep making models, and we will catch you next time. Ta-ta.